All right, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Vej Athletics Health Podcast, the health podcast. And today we are talking about how to deload the spine. Our spines really take a beating, and I want to go over, what you can do for the spine to recover, what you can do for it to deload. The When we talk about deload, we're talking about the whole structure in its entirety. The bones, the bone segments of your spine take microfractures, and that's a little bit different in terms of what you need to do and how that tissue is going to recover. And then the disc segments of your spine, the soft discs of your spine, much more sensitive, obviously, but that's another area in itself. And a lot of this stuff I've learned from following Stuart McGill, who I don't know if he currently still was a professor at the University of Waterloo in biomechanics, is the leading spinal biomechanicist in the world. So I've watched a ton of his stuff. He really breaks it down. He really simplifies it. And the guy works with a ton of athletes, and he's helped one power lifter that I follow really closely, Brian Carroll, go from not being able to load his spine to setting a world record in powerlifting, which is insane. So, first of all, talking from a sporting perspective, there's several sports. So there's basketball, there's volleyball, anything where there's a lot of jumping. Anything where there's a lot of jumping and you're coming back down hard on the ground, your spine's taking a beating. That impact is going to create those microfractures. I work with a good amount of figure skaters. So figure skating is a sport. It looks beautiful on the ice, but if you guys have ever seen behind the scenes training of figure skating, these skaters are doing hundreds, if not thousands, of jumps off ice, and a lot of them are very hard landings. I mean, most figure skaters are little girls, so body weight isn't a huge factor in terms of increasing that impact, but it's just jumping straight up, landing hard, jumping straight up, landing hard, landing hard, landing hard until you perfect that jump. And then, there's lifting as well. If you're a decent level lifter, you are loading your spine with hundreds of pounds, probably week in, week out. I don't know how many lifters, I don't know what percentage of lifters specifically program or understand the concept of a deload. I hope more and more and more, but that is also, that weight and that pressure on your spine is also causing those microfractures and possibly other issues down the train. And I definitely know that as somebody who's squatting 4x body weight, I know that the amount of pressure that my spine is under. So first of all, I've really pushed through Stuart McGill stuff and really gone through Brian Carroll stuff. And I only learned from Carroll a couple of weeks ago this piece of information that I've been dying to find. And that was, how much time does it take for those microfractures in your spine to recover after they've been created, right? So for my figure skaters, for example, jumping, landing hard, 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 hard. And when you finally get a break from that, figure skaters don't take much of a break, but when you can finally get a 1 week break from that, it takes 5 days for the microfractures in your spine to recover. It takes 5 days, right? And once you've created too many of those microfractures and you've not given enough time for them to recover, that weakens them to a point where either you're damaging the bone itself in a real measurable structural fashion, or the bone becomes so weak or it gets moved that starts causing issues to the discs and the nerves in the spine. So 5 days in terms of a spinal deload recovery, where you are actually letting that bone recalcify and strengthen, and it will be stronger. It will become stronger, right? I can't load 700 pounds like I can squat. I will tell you guys, I squat 700 pounds many, many times. So I can't load 700 pounds on the back of a beginner. I can't do that because their spine hasn't calcified to support that kind of weight. Mine has. So I can do 600 plus pounds week in, week out to a limit. But somebody who hasn't prepared their spine for that, you need to get your spine to the point where it's been weakened and strengthened, and weakened and strengthened, and then it's gotten to that point. So 5 days of recovery of doing low impact movement, not specifically loading the spine, For me, that might look like working on machines instead of putting a bar on my back. That might look like there's a machine called the belt squat that was specifically designed to have the load pulling on your hips directly instead of loaded on top of your spine, that a lot of lifters will use to deload their spine. Walking is super therapeutic, and Stuart McGill and Brian Carroll administrate that. It's just walking is just the most basic functional human movement, and it's obviously has healing properties. I can't even, other than just say, movement is magic. It has those healing properties towards the spine. So that's first. And a component that plays into that, the next piece I'm going to go into, is cycling in and out high impact work. So if you do go and play basketball, if you do heavyweight training, cycle that stuff in. So maybe on a third week, and this would obviously depend on how much you're doing these activities. But say you're somebody who, goes and plays basketball 3 days a week. On the fourth week, take a day where if you really want to be in the court, you just go in and shoot around, or you switch and do something else. You go for a swim. I don't want to say go for a run, because running is also fairly impactful, but less so than jumping up and down basketball or volleyball. But, you go for a bike ride. Maybe you do some yoga. Take cycles of every several weeks and say, how have I overloaded my body? How have I overloaded my body in an impact fashion? And now how can I cycle away from that for a week, or as we see here, 5 days, and allow those tissues to recuperate? So for instance, with a lot of my athletes, yes, we're doing plyometrics. We're doing long jumps, which are pretty high impact. We're doing single leg jumps, which are decently high impact. We're doing kneeling jump. We're doing a variety of jumps. And then on the fourth week, I need to give their bodies a chance to recuperate. So, you know what? We're going to take out long jumps and we're going to do a snatch. I love weightlifting movements, snatch or a clean. Because you get that explosive component, but you're loaded, you're under load, so you're not really necessarily leaving the ground, and the impact is very low in comparison to like traditional plyometrics. So that's why I really love weightlifting. I love throws. We can explosively throw something and get that plyometric that plyometric stimulus that we want. But again, there's no impact on the body or really on the spine. So I'm gonna cycle that stuff in and look at my programming, look at what I've been doing with my athletes, with my clients, and see, where can we shift to for this week or even for this next 3 weeks to give your body and those tissues in that area some time to recover. And I do that with almost all movements, because not only do we need the tissue to recover, but we need the nervous system to recover. You can only push your nervous system in one direction for so long. So that's next, cycling different stimuluses and different types of impact movements from 4 weeks. Maybe you go with high impact because in a fashion you need to, and then 1 week, let's go low impact. Let's let this body recover. So then we go into some drills. So hanging is something that not everybody really gets to do. A lot of people should do. I want to say climbing is a very natural human movement, but I don't really know that. I guess monkeys do it. I don't know if humans ever did a crazy ton of climbing. But if you can get in the gym, or you have a pull-up bar at home, or even on a playground or whatever, and just get on top of a bar and hang. And then the weight of the legs is pulling on the spine and really helping it decompress. I like to, in that hang position, make sure your head comes through, squeeze your bum, squeeze your abs. Because if you're somebody with pelvic tilt like myself, you don't want to fall into pelvic tilt and be creating pressure in the wrong area. So keep the abs engaged. But I just close my eyes and I just sit there for a while. And usually finishing a workout, many of my athletes will be in that hang position, and that allows their spines to decompress. Your body, and when you're hanging, your body is experiencing a level of decompression that it doesn't get all day. So especially if you're an office worker and you spend 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day sitting, when you're at the gym, do some hanging. Please do some hanging. And then you can even do banded hip decompression. So that's lying down on the ground, turning on your side. You have a band, you tie it around a rack or something stable, and then you loop it around your foot, and you allow the band to pull on the hip and decompress the hip. That's a great way to hit the two to get decompression to the hip and the spine. If you have some hip impingement, something like that, or you're in a hip intensive sport, we also want to decompress the hip joint itself. So and I will do that. I'll usually put my clients on a table, and most of them I'll finish with some decompression work. So I'll get them sideways. I'm not going to use a band. I'll just pull on their leg, but we're doing that for 20 to 30 seconds each side. And then lastly, sleep is always forgotten. Sleep is always forgotten. People think that they can push their bodies and get the most out of their bodies while cutting out this thing that, if you're really busy, you can be like, why sleep? I got stuff to do. Why sleep? I think Jay-Z says, I ain't been asleep since 96. I ain't seen the back of my eyelids, which is a dope line. But you got to see the back of your eyelids. You got to get some sleep. When we talk about that rebuilding of the microfractures in the spine, that's obviously occurring when your body is recovering and when your body's recovering from sleep. So if you're not sleeping properly, if you're getting under 7 hours of sleep, and for young athletes, teenagers and kids need more. They need probably around 10 hours. And then depending on your level, you want to be getting in that area. You should be napping as well. Your body's not going to recover. Your body's not going to release the testosterone, the growth hormone that's going to cause or stimulate that recovery of tissue. So sleep is essential in terms of healing and decompressing the spine. And then one thing that I've really made use of is CBD. So CBD or any cannabis products. CBD, I got to pull out some research for you guys on this, but I don't think it's super highly researched because, it's been, this effects on the body are very hard to study, and drugs that have been criminalized for so long, many places are reluctant to do this research. But I've seen multiple cases of CBD helping people in terms of healing tissue. So whether it is manual, getting it, right on top of the skin in a lotion and rubbing it on the back, and that can go down into the bone and help heal the spine, or whether it's smoking cannabis, or whether it is orally taking CBD. Consumption of that is going to help with that tissue regenerating. I've seen it over and over again of people regenerating in terms of soft tissue, in terms of bone, and it's in such a different manner than traditional drugs that we have from the pharmaceutical industry, because a lot of those are just painkillers. My back hurts, I'm going to take this painkiller, and I despise when I have clients who, they have a tough couple of first workouts. You're going to be sore, especially if you've never worked out before. They come back, they say, Jordan, I was so sore last week and I had to take painkillers. I say, no. Don't take painkillers. Please don't take painkillers. But CBD or other cannabis products, if you're not into feeling the high of cannabis, then consume something that's just CBD and doesn't have THC. But those products can help with your body's regeneration, and they do make a difference. And I've definitely made use of CBD in all its forms, in oral form, in smoking form, and in, what am I missing here? Lotion, topical form as well. And I feel way better. Helps with the sleep, helps with the recovery, all those things. So there we go. Couple of ways so we can deload the spine, take care of your back. You only get one spine. I said that to one of my guys at the gym today. Make sure that you're cycling in and out of your high impact work. If you have a sport or activity that you love that is high impact, take rest weeks out. You need 5 days for that spine to recover and for those microfractures to heal from impact and from high load. Get into your hanging or getting to your hip decompression with a band, if you can do that sideline decompression, and get your sleep in, and you will have a spine to die for. I might hashtag that. All right, guys. I hope you learned something and taking something away that you're going to apply to your training and to your everyday. You can reach me, Jordan, at vejathletics.ca or at coach_JG on Instagram. I'll see you guys later. Vej Athletics.